Welcome to Design Domination, where you'll gain confidence, clarity, and a competitive edge in a crowded marketplace so you can dominate your competition. Hi, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Colleen Grotzer, and in this episode of Design Domination, I'm talking about guerrilla clients. Stick around to find out if you have a guerrilla client and what to do about it. Now, if you haven't heard the term guerrilla client before, it's not a badly behaving client, although it might sound like they came straight out of the zoo. It's actually a client who makes up at least 25% to 50% of your income. Now, some experts say 25% and others say 50%. And these can be small or large companies. They don't have to be considered big in terms of size. So when I say guerrilla client or a big client, I just mean a client that makes up a large part of your income, but they can be any size. Now, I've had several guerrilla clients over the years. I had several of them for 10 years or more who were a good chunk of my monthly income. And so much of what I'm going to share with you today is from those experiences. And there are actually a lot of positives, but there are also a lot of negatives. So let's get into the benefits first. Okay, guerrilla clients usually continually throw work your way, right? They may not bid it out to other designers, and sometimes they may not even ask you for an estimate. And you think, you're saving so much time not having to market yourself, looking for potential new clients. And you do so much work for them that you don't need to look elsewhere for work, which is great because you hate doing that anyway, right? I did for quite some time. And it's always easier to get new work from existing clients than it is from new clients. Okay, and it's also good that you become familiar with this client because you're doing so much work for them. And you might even do work for multiple contacts at one company. And you think it feels like a dream situation, I know. You're like an extension of their staff, but with the perks of being a business owner. But all of this actually puts you in a really vulnerable position in your business. All right, so let's get into the bad news about guerrilla clients, okay? Now, if you've got one or two big clients that are a chunk of your income, your business is dependent on that client or those two clients, right? You're at their mercy and your business is partly out of your control. So for instance, the client's business could suffer financially and they could start cutting costs, or they could get acquired by another company. Your contact there might get promoted to another department, or they might get laid off. They might even move on to another place of work, and then their replacement comes in and hires a graphic designer that they worked with before. So you can get cut out at any time, and you'll be the last to know, and there likely won't be any notice at all. And when that happens, your business will lose most of its revenue, or a huge chunk of it, right? And the other thing about guerrilla clients is that you're in a reactive position most of the time. You're just taking the work as it comes. At least that's what I did. And that may or may not be work that you want because you're not in control of it. Now, another problem with having a guerrilla client or two is that they might think that they own you. They might come to expect you to be at their beck and call, or they might start treating you like an employee, but without the benefits like health insurance and a retirement plan and all that stuff. And when you feel like you're being taken for granted, it doesn't foster a good client relationship. You might become a bit snarky in your tone. And that could be in writing or verbal. At least I know I did that. And I had a client that I did work for every month for 10 years, and they started paying my invoices late. And you know what? They paid me so late that at one point, there were 3 invoices that were outstanding at one time. And one invoice was I think 6 months past due. So I called and I emailed my contact. I called and emailed the accounting person there after I didn't get any answers. And after I had several unreturned calls and emails and even letters in the mail asking where my payments were, and much more polite than I ever should have been, I found something online called a Dunn's demand letter service. Now, I don't know that they do this anymore, but I think I paid $40 for Dun & Bradstreet to send a demand letter for the amount that was due, and then saying that I would be stopping work until I got paid. Well, I got the nastiest phone call ever from their accounting person who was screaming at me, right? They got a lot of nerve. They're screaming at me when they're the ones late. and telling me that I should have just known that I would eventually have gotten paid. I mean, yeah, right. So they just expected me to keep on working while they just kept falling behind in invoices. And we're talking like 5 figures that they were behind in paying, right? So I mean, they were crazy. Okay, so that was the end of that relationship. Okay, the other thing is that guerrilla clients might even try to use as leverage the fact that they give you so much work. They might try to get discounts. They might start asking for rush work without paying extra. I mean, you should just be grateful because they're bestowing work upon you, right? No. Now, I had a client like this, and I fired them after working with them for 13 years. They just came to expect that I should always prioritize them over other clients. They treated me like I didn't have any other clients. Every job became a rush job, and they were never willing to pay extra for rush work, and they were always nickeling and diming me. And the other thing was that they called me an expert, like to my face, right? But really, they treated me like an order taker. And then when I got into accessibility and I showed them all the ways that I could help them and their audience, which it was a great fit for their audience, I went and built them a brand new accessible website for dirt cheap. They weren't interested in any of my ongoing accessibility services. They just wanted the same lower cost, high quality rush work that I'd been doing. And I was so done with that. Like, they didn't want to pay my higher rates. You know, my rates had changed since I had started working with them, and my focus had changed, and they just weren't interested in paying for that. So like the saying, you can get it fast, cheap, or good, pick two. They were constantly asking for all three. And to top off all of that, they even paid many of my invoices late. I mean, so talk about some nerve, you know? Now, the other thing, and this is super important, is that you can get really, really comfortable. I know I did. And you know what? You can become complacent. And you're often so busy doing the work for the clients that you don't market yourself and look for other clients. And then you stop working on your business because you're so busy working on theirs. Okay, and another thing that happens is that you fear losing big clients because they're such a large part of your business. And again, big clients meaning how much income you're making from them, not how big they are in size, right? This one might be the worst one, actually, because you're much more likely to put up with bad behavior from the client because they give you so much work or because they make up such a large portion of your income. I had a guerrilla client like this for 10 years, the one I mentioned earlier. It was great monthly income, and it was in addition to my full-time job, okay, because this was freelance work, so this was nice side income. I put up with being called by the client at my full-time job. I mean, she used to work there. So that's how she knew that I worked there, and she had the number. But it was so inappropriate for her to do that. I just remember feeling my heart pounding from all the stress that she would put me through. And she was constantly poking and prodding me, and then she would sing my praises to everyone else and say how wonderful it was that the monthly work was finally getting done on time after years of other people not being able to get it done on time, right? But then she still felt the need to make me feel like I wasn't good enough. And I was actually getting the job done correctly. And unfortunately, not feeling like I was good enough was a feeling that I was used to. So I just continued to put up with it, especially because they were paying me, right? And asking friends and family for advice just got me, well, but they're paying you. Okay, another thing that happens is that you become financially dependent on the guerrilla client, either to pay yourself or a subcontractor or a small team. And if the client doesn't pay their invoices on time or at all, how much is that going to affect your business? Okay, guerrilla clients, though, become much more than a financial problem. You might even bend over backward for them just to keep them happy, even when it doesn't feel right to do that. And even when they treat you badly, and even when they don't pay your invoices on time. And you might even prioritize their work above other clients. Not because they're asking, but because you feel like you have to do that, right? So it's like people pleasing. The other thing is that you don't plan for the future of your business, right? The potential lost work. So let's say you get 50% of your income from one client. What will happen if they leave? Would you be able to pay the rent or the mortgage? Would you need to start looking for a part-time job? You know, you might think that you just replace them with another big client, but it can take some time to find another client. And it also just puts you right back into that same vulnerable position again, perpetuating the issue. Now, I know for me at the time, years ago, I thought I was in charge and being the business owner, but really I just had another job. Clients were the ones running my business, and I was busy working on projects, but not on the health of my business. And at that time, I thought the health of my business was having a good income. I wasn't as concerned with bad clients who disrespected me. I wasn't as concerned with getting more clients. I mean, I didn't want to work with clients who disrespected me, of course, and I wanted more and better clients. But I accepted a lot of this as normal. And I hesitated to do what I really needed to do to get myself out of those situations. Like I was always busy, but I wasn't looking for new clients. And so my income was stagnant for years. And that's the other thing actually to think about is your rates. Because you know what? It's always easier to raise your rates with new clients. I mean, they're none the wiser about what your past rates have been and what other clients have been paying. But existing clients might balk or they might just leave altogether. And if they balk at your higher rates and refuse to pay them and continue to work with you, well, you're going to feel resentful toward them and that hurts the client relationship. So you might hesitate to raise your rates with these gorilla clients, and that can leave your business stuck. And then you're stuck with many of the same clients paying the same old rates, and then you're not getting the respect you deserve. You continue to take on work that you don't like doing. You might even start doubting yourself, so you're not confident. And when that happens, that can hurt your chances of getting new clients. I mean, trust me, I know this feeling. It's awful. And you might also want to focus on a certain type of work, but maybe you decide against it because you get so much of other types of work from this gorilla client. You also might hesitate to step up as the business owner. You're always working in the business instead of on it. So it gives you the excuse that you need not to do that or to procrastinate because that's not what you want to be doing, right? You might just want to sit back and do the work, and I get it. A lot of being a business owner is getting out of your comfort zone. And you may not get out of your comfort zone until a client forces you to by them going elsewhere. Please don't do that. Then you're in panic mode, you're in this reactive mode, and you're looking for clients and more work at the last minute, and then you're wishing you had paid more attention to your marketing sooner. And you know what? I get it. I have totally been there, and it is really hard work, okay? But it's also very rewarding. These are all things that you have to do as the business owner if you want to control the direction of your business. Okay, now, to find out if you have any gorilla clients, go and take a look back at your records, right? Find out what percentage of your annual income each of your clients makes up. And you could create a spreadsheet and then just plop the numbers in there and keep track of it. So look and see, do you make more than 50% of your income or maybe 25% of your income from any of them? And if so, you might want to consider taking some steps to protect your business from these gorilla clients. And if you do like a spreadsheet of this, you could even track this over time to check if you have a good balance, of your income with these clients over time. Now, if you find that you have a gorilla client or you just want to protect your business from gorilla clients, then what you need to do is first get into the mindset of being a business owner. Businesses always need to attract new clients. They don't have to get tons of clients all the time, but they need to get new clients. They need to make money to stay in business to serve their clients. They need to get new clients. They need to get new work, right? So you've got to continually market yourself so that you're reminding people what you do. You're letting prospects know who you are and what you do, and you're staying top of mind. And that way, when they need someone with your expertise, they will reach out to you. And you also have to remember that marketing is a long game, right? You have to continually do it. So you can future-proof your business by aiming to have multiple clients and a good mix of smaller and larger ones to offset one or two big gorilla clients making up a huge portion of your income. One thing you can do is consider retainer agreements for some clients, right? And then include a cancellation policy in there because that way they can't just cancel without notice. Or maybe they can, but there would be a financial penalty for it. That would at least give you some lead time in case a client, any client, not just a gorilla client, ups and leaves. The other thing is that you also want to be sure that your positioning in the marketplace is strong. So in other words, How are you different from every other designer out there? And why should a client work with you? How easily replaceable are you? Or more importantly, how easily replaceable do clients think you are? Because if they don't think that you're easily replaceable, like maybe because of your work ethic or your niche, your service, or some other factor, then you're less likely to be replaced. Any way that you can set yourself apart from all the other designers out there and that clients also see that for themselves, which is based on your marketing and your positioning, then the less replaceable you will be. Now, if you want to find out one way that you can set yourself apart, start asking the questions that most designers aren't asking. Get the free guide, 17 questions that you must ask during a design consultation, by going to creative-boost.com/questions.